Good morning, Mr. Magpies. How are you today? One for sorrow, two for joy. Something like that today. Good morning and namaste. Bit of a change in the weather, as you can probably tell. I'm dressed like I'm ready to climb the Himalayas, but it is actually quite cold. Well, it was when I came out. I've probably overdone it a bit, but it's definitely a bit nippy, and certainly a big change from the last time I was here a few days ago. But hey, change is the only constant, apparently. A lot of change happening, it seems, in various parts of the world. A lot of problems in the US have kind of bubbled to a head, and yeah, we're seeing a lot of anger and a lot of violent reaction to the death of George Floyd, obviously, but it feels like this time that maybe things will actually change. I don't know, but that's my sense, and I've heard other people talking about that this time it's different. So let's hope so. Let's hope it's a turning point, an awakening, whatever you want to call it, really. Meanwhile, back in Blighty, under my tree here, things are also changing. Again, I'm not sure if it's for the better, though. I'm really beginning to question and get rather worried about what is this government actually playing at. None of their decisions make any sense to me now, to be honest. I mean, we've got a terrible legacy from this virus, the highest deaths in Europe, at officially almost 40,000. In fact, I'm pretty certain the true figure is much higher, probably more like 60,000. But more worrying, really, is that we're coming out of the lockdown at a time when the infection rate is still pretty high. The death rate is also, I think, still very high. 360 yesterday. I mean, yeah, you have to really question what is the logic here. The government say they've been following the science. That's been their mantra, and yet there are 5 tests that they say they needed to meet in order to ease the lockdown, and they say, yeah, we've met those tests, but actually their own scientists are saying no, we haven't. So what really is going on? Have you noticed that the language has changed? Very subtle, but listen and you will hear that they are now listening to the science, not following it, they're listening. So I think, yeah, we're actually getting ready to throw the scientists under the bus later on, I believe, to vindicate or excuse their own actions or inactions. I mean, the quarantine. Now, at a time when you'd think, well, okay, we're coming out of lockdown. We didn't do quarantine. We had 150,000 people a week flying into the country throughout the lockdown, and yet every other country in the world closed their borders pretty much. We didn't. When it would have seemed at that time to have been a common sense measure, and yet now we're coming out of the lockdown, but they're starting quarantine. I mean, the idea of quarantine is you have countries with a, if you're a country with a low infection rate, you don't want countries from a higher infection rate coming in. It makes perfect sense to me. But we've actually got a higher infection rate, and now we're saying to countries with a lower infection rate, sorry, you can't come in. And so, the travel industry are screaming that this is going to possibly be fatal, and extremely high unemployment, etc., will result. As if we didn't have enough of those kind of problems already, the government are pursuing Brexit in the middle of this, and not just that they're pursuing it, they're saying that we will not extend the transition period under any circumstances, when it would make surely perfect sense to give ourselves a bit more time. We're in a hell of a mess. We're going to have a massive mountain of debt to deal with. We're going to need all the friends we can get, all the trade we can get, and so on. And what are they doing? We'll make that harder for you. I think it's insanity. But obviously it isn't. Obviously there is a mind at work here, probably Dominic Cummings, obviously, part of it. But I really do think that I'm not one for conspiracy theories, but I am one for scrutiny and following the money and following who benefits. It sure as hell ain't us, the ordinary people who've suffered through this lockdown and done everything mostly that we were told, and everything else, and true heroes. We've seen the true value of those people who are considered, until a few months ago, the lowest of society, the low paid of society. They are still, by the way, the low paid. All this clap for carers that we do tonight. I mean, pay the carers, I think. Oi, that was a bit of a rant, wasn't it? Probably far too long. I suppose my point was to say, well, what can we do to affect positive change? What can I actually do? I'm sitting here this morning, once again, kind of really annoyed actually at the amount of litter that has now started to appear in this park, and getting angry about it. So what can I do? What's an intelligent way to approach this problem? Maybe I can talk to the people who come here in the evenings mainly and leave this litter. Maybe I can leave signs around the place. I mean, you could say, well, it's not my job to do that. It's not, it's not up to me. It should be the council. And there is a guy who comes, I've seen them regularly, come round and pick up litter, but it's not enough, obviously. And I think the problem eventually, we're going to have to confront is that we have too much of it's someone else's problem. Someone else needs to deal with that. We need to take responsibility at some point. Oh, that's my 2 pence for today. It was a bit of a rant, and I'm sorry about that. But hey, there's a lot of it about. I might as well get it off my chest. So I hope you're safe and well wherever you are. And take care. Namaste.